That is from Chilling, Thrilling Sounds of the Haunted House, produced by Disney in the 1960s. Throughout the 70s, as a kid, I would listen to that around Halloween. It's a total trip. Strongly suggest it.
Each time you step outside your house, they attack.
Happy Halloween, holla. Doing some 90s comics. This is Lobo, issue number 1. The first limited series, the first series assigned to Mr. Lobo here. Lobo, he's got his own niche. He's his own unique brand within the DC brand, as far as I'm concerned. It's all speculation at the end of the day. There's no sure thing. It's just my speculation. But when I see a book like this go from $1 to $5, it goes $5 to $10. And once it starts creeping up to $15, hitting that $20 mark, you gotta ask yourself, is this worth buying? And what's the reason for this going up? There's no hype around Lobo right now. And as a high-grade newsstand, this is after paying for shipping. One's $19 and one is $22. So for me, a brand like Lobo, as unique and as niche as it is, you get a high-grade newsstand of this. You get it for $20 or under, in my opinion. I mean, look at how a lot of these books blow up, and then even though when they go down, they still maintain more than their original value. When it's a very niche character like this, it has a strong following. Can't say it has a huge following, but at the moment, but I see Lobo as having lots of potential for growth here. So out of 1990, we have the first limited series of Lobo. First series, it's 4 issues. He came out in 1983 at Omega Man issue number 3. It's a bounty hunter. Didn't look anything like how they had ended up setting him up. It's more like a biker type of look. But they had a more space age, like the stereotypical space age look in his first appearance, and made him more like a biker. So here he is, Lobo, 1990, our beloved niche anti-hero, just anti. And I got each of those, like I said, for $20 a piece, high-grade newsstands. Keith Giffin's story, he did the layouts on the interior, and that cover is painted by the artist who did the finishes, Simon Beasley, the Bees. Volume 3, the unpublished 5th chapter, the 5th issue of The Crow, finally published in 1992 by Tundra Press. Tundra Press, founded by one of the creators of TMNT, Kevin Eastman. So when The Crow first appeared, and I think like cover date was January 1989, just looked it up for Caliber Presents, and that's like the prologue for the Crow story. And then Caliber Comics, the publishing company, they had the 4-issue series written, drawn, everything by James O'Barr. And the 5th issue to that series is issue 3 here. So you first have the Caliber Presents first issue for the prologue of The Crow, and then anthology. You got your 4-issue series of The Crow, published by Caliber Comics. And then the first 2 issues of which are right here in Volume 1, Pain and Fear, under Tundra Press. Second 2 sets, you could say, issues 3 and 4 are right here, Volume 2, Irony and Despair. And then the 5th issue, first time published, is Volume 3. So if you have to just get one, it's a hard call, right? Because this is the unpublished 5th issue, so to speak, right? Volume 3, but then you want that first issue, right? It's such a kick-ass painting. So as a Crow fan, a James O'Barr fan, even though I already have doubles of these, I just figured I'd get triples. I mean, I'm at the point now where I've gotten everything on my list, and I have a little bit of money to spare, a little bit of time left to be spending on comics like I've been. So let's do it. Third set of The Crow. This is out of 1992 from Tundra Press. And then the final publisher I'd like to note is Kitchen Sink, because then Kitchen Sink compiled everything together, that Caliber Presents first issue, and then like the prologue to The Crow, all of these 3 volumes together in their Kitchen Sink trade paperback that came out just before the movie. So if you see the 1994 Kitchen Sink trade paperback of The Crow and it does not say based on the movie at the top, check it. Check the inside. It's probably a first printing of that trade paperback. Marvel Comics Presents issue number 100. It was the only non-beat-up copy that this comic shop had of a Sam Keith Marvel Comics Presents cover. Sam Keith took over after Barry Windsor Smith's storyline, Weapon X line, ended in issue 84. So from 85 onward, I'm not sure entirely for how long, but probably a couple years, Sam Keith did the covers and the Wolverine story on the interior in this Marvel Comics anthology. Comics premiere, issue 100. And yes, it is a newsstand. How do I know? Got that old school Curtis Comics. That's what that CC is right there. Curtis Comics. Curtis was a comic book distributor. And you see that on the front, not always, but typically look on the back, especially for these Marvel Comics Presents, and you'll see that barcode. And on the left, we got Spider-Man Dracula one-shot newsstand from January 1994, cover date, written by Len Wein. Art by Ross Andrew. Aunt May's sick. Some type of vaccine Spider-Man's got to find. Count Dracula is involved in the plot. Joe Mad cover. Yeah, I've already got a copy of these, but just finding this in high grade newsstand, once again, my opinion, just my opinion, 1984 and later, as a collector, my definition of that's a real collectible buy. That's a really dope collectible buy. If it's like a high grade newsstand after 1984, direct from 83 and earlier, maybe 82 and earlier, make sure it's direct. High grade, baby. And then I asked myself, what is it that's niche about that book? Like with Lobo, within himself it's niche, and he's able to maintain a $20 sale for his high-grade copy of newsstands for his books. So I figured, yeah, that's worth buying. That's a brand that I like. Even though I'm talking about all this other information, I also like it. I like the style of this Dave McKean cover. John Constantine Hellblazer, issue number 4, April 1988, cover date. Look at her. Jamie Delano's story. $1991. One Shot Press didn't have too many comics that came out. This was their first comic book from the publishing company, One Shot Press. You got the Bunn brothers. I think it was John is the first name, John or Joe. Joe Bunn ran publishing, did some writing, but this is all the brother, David C.J. Bunn. This is an anthology in the vein of EC Comics, horror comics. There's the artist's name right there, if you can see that. I can hold that steady. David C.J. Bunn. I don't know much about this comic. I like the cover. Yeah, cover by. I did it. Who doesn't? By the way, also in the background there, in case you're wondering, that's a cassette player. The Captain's Jolting Tales. Yeah, it's some all 90s goodness. Except for these next couple comics. Following up from the Copper Age that I showed off. I mean, I don't know, I consider all these still Copper Age. For me, the 80s and the 90s is Copper Age, but Marvel Tales 177 on the left right there. July 1985 cover date. And that's a reprint of the last Spider-Man comic that Steve Ditko worked on. Issue 38. Originally published in 1966. Amazing Spider-Man 38. Stan Lee, Steve Ditko. I mentioned Ross Andru earlier, just a moment ago. Ross Andru did the interior pencils. Co-creator of The Punisher. That's right, Marvel Tales issue 209 is a reprint of the first appearance of The Punisher. He was hired by the Jackal to assassinate Spider-Man. Out of 1974 is that first appearance of The Punisher, Amazing Spider-Man 129, this reprint here out of 87, I believe. Cool Mike Zeck cover. March 1990. April 1990. Chapters 1 and 2 and chapters 3 and 4 of Marvel Team Up Annual number 1 from 1976. Yeah, the interiors are definitely not much worth bragging about, not much worth showing. If you're into that artwork, no offense, for me it's pretty basic, but these Todd McFarlane covers right here, the bomb. Todd McFarlane, what it is. Can't say this is the best artwork in my opinion. You look at the anatomy of Storm there. She's all stretched out like that. Definitely getting an amateur level vibe, but they're all about their techniques and little hacks here and here to get the job done. This was right before McFarlane left and went to Image. Oh. These are $236 I got for $30 after shipping and $25 after shipping for some high grade newsstand copies of those. Did I overpay? I know that says 50. I got this for I didn't write it on the back. It says 80. This was 30. This one was 30 and this one was 25 after shipping. Some more 90s goodness. Dark Horse Presents. This is from April 1991, the first appearance of Sin City, Frank Miller's classic. Another niche, iconic tale. Bought this at Cobalt Comics. Their store anniversary is officially going to be on Hollahween. Brandon, the store owner, had a birthday this month in October. I think the store is 4 years old this year. Dark Horse Presents. When I saw, this is a nice high grade copy, $35. I was like, holy shit, hell yeah, I'll get it. At one point, this was a $60 book. I have faith in Frank Miller. I don't know about his new brand. His new comic label that he's creating with Dan DiDio. He's not doing much of the art in it, so he's doing some covers. We'll see. I like Frank Miller's writing, though. Got to wait till that issue progresses. See how Frank Miller's new label goes. There's a few more Dark Horse comics. Dark Horse was founded in, I think, 1986, right? So the same year that the second Aliens movie came out, we've got Dark Horse, Mike Richardson, founding Dark Horse Comics. 1988, a couple years after Dark Horse was founded, Dark Horse Comics, they had the Aliens comic book series. It's a limited series that ran in 1988. Mark Nelson did the art for the original Dark Horse Aliens series that came out in 1988. Just be aware that in 1988, Mike Richardson, right, he's the guy that wrote a lot of these Aliens comics. It was his idea to combine Aliens versus Predator for the first time. That's why the films had Aliens versus Predator, because of his idea was successful in the comics. So Mike Richardson, the founder of Dark Horse Comics, I think he started in the Midwest. Couple years after Dark Horse was founded in 1988, you had the first Aliens comic book limited series. When the first Alien movie came out, Alien in 1979, you had Heavy Metals magazine. That was the comic book adaptation of Alien. That Heavy Metal magazine came out in 1979. First comic to reach New York Times bestseller list. And then you had the Aliens movie, the second one, 1986. Dark Horse was founded in 86 that same year. And then 2 years later, you had the Aliens limited series by Mark Verheiden and Mark Nelson doing the art. A year later, you had another Aliens series that came out, a limited series in 1989. So be aware of that. When you see an early Aliens comic from the late 80s, you've got the first series from Dark Horse that is from 1988 with art by Mark Nelson. Okay, so if you see a John Bolton cover, that's probably the second Aliens limited series that came out in 1989. The first series was called Aliens Outbreak in a collected edition. The second series was called Aliens Nightmare Asylum. Okay, and then there was another series, 4 issues, called Aliens Earth War. And all of those three together are related. They're called Female War, I think was one of, this title got changed for a minute to be called Female War, but all of those titles together are related. They're supposed to have some kind of somewhat of a continuity with each other. Now, Newt's first appearance, as well as I think Ripley and Hicks, is in the Hicks' first appearance with Newt is in that Dark Horse first Alien series, 1988. Ripley, her first appearance is in comics, at least, is in that Aliens 1979 heavy metal adaptation of the 1979 movie. If you see a trade paperback of Aliens Outbreak, that's the first Aliens limited series that Dark Horse produced in 1988. If you see Aliens Nightmare Asylum, that's the second Aliens limited series that came out in 1989. On the left is the one that followed both of those, Aliens Earth War from 1990. This badass John Bolton cover. Fucking crazy. Look at that. You like that glare? Holy shit. Awful glare here. I'll fix that. Crazy thing about Aliens Newt's Tale is that this is a story that includes unused material from the second Aliens movie. This is basically about how that outbreak started at that colony that everybody had to go to in the second Aliens movie, where they introduced you to Corporal Hicks and Newt, that girl, Rebecca Jordan. So Newt dies in the third Alien movie, just in one of those cryo tubes. Her and Hicks ended up dying. I think at the end of the third Alien movie, when the credits go black, you can hear one of those face huggers crawling along the floor, skittering around. Newt's Tale, this is issue number 2. I showed off issue number 1. Yo, check out the first 15 minutes of my comic book haul. I think it's number 51. Talk about the rundown of this. I got to do a rundown of my Aliens comics. Alien Survival from the fucking dollar bin, y'all. Newsstand. There's a spine tick like right there and there. That's it. This nice copy. Newsstand. This is Aliens Survival, February 1998. It's a Tony Harris cover. James Vance story with Guy Davis doing the interior pencils. This next cover, I'm going to have to say there's graphic sexual content. Definitely adults only. If you are about to get triggered, this is a rape scene that is actually on the cover of this comic. So just want to give y'all fair warning. Any millennials out there, zillennials, Gen Z might get triggered. Just want to give you a fair warning right now. Out of 1997, August cover date. Dennis Boveiss cover. Aliens Purge. Look at that. God damn. Graphic, isn't it? $1 for both of these. That Aliens Purge is a one-shot. Some Dark Horse goodness. And just to wrap up, my Dark Horse is actually a little bit more modern. This was pricey. I got this for $18. Aliens versus Predator reprint. The cover artist there is not the original cover artist. This was originally $1. This came out August 2010. Originally, this is from 1997. Aliens versus Predator, reprint of the first issue. Monica Livingston painting there. The colony planet Ryushi. Colonists get in the middle of the rite of passage when the predators have to hunt down aliens. Dark Horse from the 90s. A couple of cool finds I got. These were $12 piece. Issues 4 and 5. I'm not a big Ghost in the Shell fan, but I love the artwork. Very niche. Niche, right? You hear me saying that. In of its own. Can stand on its own 2 feet. Incomparable to most other brands as far as in America. You're dealing with those big 2 superheroes. Masamune Shiro. Successful manga artist, creator, writer. He did it all here with these issues. It's an 8-issue limited series. Kick-ass cyberpunk books out of 1995, June and July. Acetate cover, people. The only time you want to have an acetate cover is right here. Oh, right here, that's right. Acetate, the only time you need an acetate cover. It's this Alex Ross goodness. Ain't no other. Out of Marvel, Kurt Busiek doing the writing. Alex Ross doing the cover and the art. January 1994 cover date. Marvels. One of the best limited series from Marvel in general, I'd say. Yeah, I got that for $5. A lot of these books were $5 books. Well, not a lot of them. Not these that I'm about to show you. Image Comics. 1997. June. July. And August. That's right, all newsstand, baby. That's right. I always get these. I used to always buy them in direct till I found how goddamn common they are in direct and high grades. So then I switched gears and I'm like, fuck that, man. Really, I mean, if you want to get collectible, there's one thing to say you got a great collection. I'm talking like, this is a collectible. This is something people want. But everybody wants something different. Not everybody's going to give a shit about the condition. Really. So yeah, in my opinion, for me, these are collectible because they're high grade newsstand copies. These are my 4th copies, actually. Because like I'm saying, you see that price go. For these, I never really saw these for $1. They were in the dollar bin for a while. I never got really into Spawn, Todd McFarlane, all that much up until just a few years ago. I'm really begun to respect his style. It's that going for it mentality. I don't got all the years of experience, but the drive that he had to succeed, but a little hacks along the way to help get the job done, to make ends meet and meet deadlines. So I tend to respect that. I do think that most of the stuff from the 90s is overrated, but Curse of the Spawn, once again, this isn't a deep storyline, but in this 3rd issue, she fights her sister Lilith. Oh yeah, also Dwayne Turner. Dwayne Turner did the interior art on this story here. It's a 3-arc run in the Curse of the Spawn storyline. And Dwayne Turner did the art, this background image here of Angela with Danny Miki inks. And then this is Todd McFarlane with Greg Capullo inks. This whole cover here is Dwayne Turner art with Danny Miki inks. And then this is all Dwayne Turner cover and inks. 9, 10, and 11, Curse of the Spawn. She's just a cool looking character. I like her story. And to me, once again, this is iconic. Just the fact that she started off in Image, and there was this whole controversy between Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane, and it involved the rights of Miracle Man, this other shit that's going on. It's just the history inside the continuity of comics, the mythology, and out, just as far as how the business is run. Very interesting history of this character, and very iconic within herself. This 10-foot tall, very sexy, hot, just amazingly powerful woman. Being a redhead myself, I don't really find myself fond of redheads all that often. Usually opposites attract, but in Marvel, too much redheads in Marvel as far as the ladies go. And I like my brunettes. Yeah, another niche brand that I think has some longevity. Yeah, I mean, you're like, why doesn't he talk about reading? Why doesn't he talk? Man, I get into reading. I read my trades. But when I'm spending and I got to worry about putting stuff up in storage, I want to worry about I want to make sure that there is at least some tradability, some chance that I could not necessarily flip, but just get rid of them, sell these 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and buying something just to read it or just to have it when it's riddled with spine ticks makes selling it later down the line a lot more difficult. And I see how everyone the past 20, 25 years is bred, mostly, not everybody, but most people in the United States are just, you're bred to be picky, you're bred to reject, you're bred to find flaws. You're not supposed to accept, you're supposed to reject. So I think it's just going to get worse with the carbon footprint. I mean, it's one thing for me to worry about trying to sell stuff and make sure that I get it, screw the direct if it's after 1983. Get it in newsstand high grade. Chances of getting rid of it are easier, higher. But think about it like this, y'all. By around 2030, 2032, when we get those people on the moon and they're going to glorify how they live sustainably, and everyone's going to be like, overdosing on global warming and the environment, and anything that you buy, you're going to ask yourself, is this going to sink to the Pacific or float on the Pacific in that patch, that plastic island? And what is the next generation going to say about us? They're going to go, I'm never going to buy comics. I'm never going to buy comics. All those plastic bags are polluting the environment. Look at what did all those collectors do with all those plastic bags? They threw them in the garbage, and now they're floating in the Pacific. Yeah, that's what they're going to say. and they're going to go, I want to live in the virtual world. I want to have nothing and like it. Sound familiar? Isn't that what the owners of CGC are saying? We're all going to be renters. We'll rent our little room, and everything we do, my guess then, will have to be virtual reality. So people will have their virtual reality long boxes and their virtual reality comics. They're going to sit in their little hole and snitch on their neighbor because their neighbor is Sequential Geek and he's ruining the environment. So I got to snitch on Sequential Geek with all his comics and his boxes and his old school, outdated ways of living, because the collective carbon footprint. We have to look out for each other, and I can't let Sequential Geek get a better carbon footprint score than me. Sounds like I'm ranting, but yo, the carbon footprint rating score? I want to talk about something scary. Talk about the carbon footprint rating scale. Seriously, I think it's going to ruin this hobby. How am I going to sell all my comics if everyone is being told, you're ruining the environment, you're a threat to the world if you've got all these plastic boxes, right? I mean, shit, last year I was told the reason the economy didn't work out was because I'm not vaccinated. That pissed me the fuck off. To say that. And yeah, I don't want to get political, but that is worth mentioning. Running somebody's life to destitution because they're not fucking vaccinated and they don't break the law or associated with people that do anymore. Yeah. And to think that something that outlandish would happen, yeah, I think the carbon footprint is totally going to fuck up keeping all these boxes of comics with all these plastic bags. It's a threat to your carbon footprint rating score. I'm going to end this with some modern comics, some modern indie comics, and I'm liking the idea of these mini comics. I've been hearing a lot of shop owners, even though I'm not fond of Mile High Comics anymore, the way they treat people at that store is awful, but I have been putting my ear to the ground. I've been hearing how these large chains, not necessarily chains, but these large stores that are stocking up on comics, that are warehousing comics, have been seeing a little smoke before the fire, right? They're talking about buy indie books, buy if something looks like it's of high quality, like somebody's been practicing, been working on it. It's an indie book. Once again, I'm specking out. This is all my opinion. I'm specking for fun. I am not relying my retirement on these comics. This is just BSing right now. I'm specking. But yeah, this is very niche. It's niche upon niche once you start getting into DIY. And I think it's inspirational for the next generation of people. Hopefully that won't be brainwashed with the carbon footprint. That will be interested in going beyond the big two, and they'll be rejecting corporate anti-culture. And I think another consequence of that, if it's not the carbon footprint, but people are just going to reject anything that has to do with a global conglomerate, anything that has to do with mass merchandise. Huge. Consequence of that is anything that has to do with Marvel and DC, people are just going to be like, nope, forget it. They ruin the environment. Back to the whole carbon footprint thing again with all their plastic mass merchandise. I didn't think that the stuff with this pandemic would happen, and it did. And now we got whole new age ahead of us of being regulated and people making weird decisions of everything based on rejecting. So it's fucked up. So I'm thinking, all right, then something non-big two. And I like indie books. It's another thing that I follow. But as far as I like to read indie. As far as collecting and bagging stuff with indie, it seems kind of weird. But fuck it. I'm closing a chapter with my hoarding and finish it off, diversifying some of my collection with these small buys as well. Mini comics is what these guys are saying. These people like Chuck Rosansky and Steve Jeppy. One of the things that they're talking about that I've heard them mention is not necessarily indie comics per se, but just niche, independent press stuff that's going to be difficult to find, stuff that has like really low print run, not direct market based stuff, not superhero based. And I think a lot of this indie comics movement is going to originate with web comics. Already has. but not too big on web comics. Really interesting. This one is called Weekly, issue 14. It's a 2015 mini. Oh, and Max Bachhuber, excuse me, and Terry Taylor in the 21st century, right here, by Jack Reese. I'm not sure if this particular one is by Oily Comics. I'm not sure, because I know that it's the same size as these other Oily Comics ones. Buck got these over at Kilgore Books in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, Capitol Hill district of Denver. Thing about these Oily Comics, the thing with Oily is that they've got actual, some type of oil, resin, I don't know if they just, it's a byproduct of how they make it, or they just put it on there. Looks like coffee stains or something. But yeah, that's a trademark of Oily Comics. Word and Voice, Aaron Cockey. Issues 2 and 3. Oh, excuse me. Issues 2 and 3, right? Yeah. October 2012. Tiger Man, Winslow Yost and Ray Grant. Mini comics. Very interesting take on sequential art. Another niche of comic book collecting. It's mini comics. Candy or Medicine, Volume 8. That artwork is dated 08. It's not a rush, is it? Now that's scary. Brandon W. Foster doing the back cover. Total anthology here. Lots of different contributors. The indicia inside says 2009. Mini comic anthology. It's the cover of the next issue. Look at this Robert Crumb Mineshaft from October 2018. It's a periodical. So Kilgore Books, they're no longer part of Kilgore Publishing, but they collaborate with each other. Kilgore Publishing is in the Washington, D.C. area. Check that out. Real quick here, Robert Crumb illustrating Charles Bukowski. Yo, man, you want a good book? If you're not big on reading and you want a fun book, I guess you could say it's more of a guy book, but read Ham on Rye. Ham on Rye by Charles Bukowski. I believe that's his autobiography book. Yeah. Mineshaft. Robert Crumb also. I think he has excerpts in these at the end of his dream journal. Oh, check that out. Robert Crumb loves his larger ladies. Once again, no body shaming going on here. Hell no. Yeah, excerpts from Crumb's Dream Diary. It's the anthology. Chester Brown right here. I showed some Chester Brown Yummy Fur, issue 8. Reviewed that at the end of my last comic book haul video. Another Robert Crumb illustration. Rough Women of the Dark Ages. Noah Van Sciver. Stories in here from Robert Crumb, Mary Fleener, Noah Van Sciver. That's Ethan Van Sciver's younger brother, I think. Rusty Warren, David Collier. Alexander Zograf, Billy Childish, Dennis Kitchen, all inside Mineshaft. The guy that did this illustration right here, I met him at Coventry's comic book fair in 2019. Very cool person, by the way. Red pencil drawing by Timothy Trentino. Black Star. Josh Baer, story and art. Just a total trip looking book, isn't it? Tinto Press. It's also based out of the Denver area, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I like this. Can't say this is something I seek after, but just look at this. Very different. Yeah. I don't know. I think this is kick-ass. We need something different in our lives. We need something niche, something unique, its own style, not based on some company's brand identity-driven style that they need to keep up with every issue, month after month, for years, thinking that they have to maintain some look for Marvel or DC or whatever. Yo, this is pretty dope. Looking forward to that. This is my second copy, so it's my reader copy of Black Star. Let's finish it up with the last book I got from a small comic book shop. Got this over at Kilgore Books still. Vanity Floppy. Check out the illustrations in this. KB, Kilgore Books. It's pretty new. It's by Carl Stevens. Check out the artwork in this book. Really amazing artwork, isn't it? That almost looks like a freaking photograph. So check this out. You like those 90s comics I just showed? My next haul is going to be some more modern comics, 21st century stuff. Last haul was Copper Age, stuff in the 80s. Right here, we got ourselves some 90s books and some a little bit modern indie books to wrap up this haul. Thanks for swinging by. Thank you. Appreciate your feedback. Hope you all have a safe, exciting, fantastical, and horrific. Safe and horrific, yeah. Hell no, you can't have that. So you're on your own, y'all, this time. Because I Love Your Hollahween is horrible. Really cool. Wow. Wow. And on that note, thank you for visiting. Thank you very much for your time. That's Sequential Geek. Happy Hollahween. Holla.